Remember 2021? Oh, you try not to? I get it. It was a year. A long, weird year where banana bread became a competitive sport, and we all collectively forgot how to wear real trousers. Amidst the chaos of slightly earlier years, the Trump administration had a bright idea, or at least an idea they presented as bright. Let's call it America First, except when it makes things more expensive for Americans. Part of this grand vision involved slapping a hefty 25% tariff on non-US built cars and a whole host of other goods. The goal was to make foreign cars more expensive, thus encouraging everyone to buy American-made vehicles, leading to bustling factories and happy workers. The thinking was essentially if you tax imports, domestic production will magically boom. Unfortunately, the global economy, especially the auto industry, isn't quite as simple as a Made in America sticker might suggest. The tariffs were intended to be a shield, but for many they quickly started to feel more like a self-inflicted wound. Now let's talk about how cars are actually made. It's not like one giant factory in Detroit just spits out a fully formed pickup truck from raw patriotism and eagle feathers. The modern auto industry is a mind-bogglingly interconnected web, a global ballet of parts and components zipping across oceans and borders. Think of it like this. Your American car might have an engine from Mexico, a transmission from Japan, electronics from South Korea, and seats from Canada, all assembled in a plant in Michigan. This intricate system was built up over decades, all in the name of efficiency and cost-effectiveness. Companies source parts from wherever they can get the best quality at the best price. This specialization means one country might be fantastic at making tiny, crucial microchips, while another excels at forging strong steel components. Throw a spanner, or say, a massive tariff, into one part of this delicate machine, and the whole thing can grind to a shuddering, expensive halt. So when a 25% tariff gets slapped on non-US built cars, it's not just foreign brands that feel the pinch. American companies deeply embedded in this global parts-sharing party suddenly find themselves paying more for essential components they need to build cars America. The tariff doesn't magically create an American alternative overnight, it just makes the existing process more expensive. The immediate effect of these tariffs wasn't a sudden boom in US parts manufacturing. Let's zoom in on one iconic American automaker, Ford. Built Ford tough. Well, these tariffs certainly tested that toughness, though perhaps not in the way their marketing department intended. Ford, despite being as American as baseball and apple pie, which by the way might also contain foreign ingredients, was hit hard. Why? Because as we've established, Ford, like every other major automaker, relies on that global supply chain. They import critical components, and even some fully assembled vehicles that were now subject to these new taxes. The financial impact was significant and swift. Ford publicly stated that the steel and aluminum tariffs alone cost them about $1 billion in profit. Yes, billion with a B. This financial strain had real-world consequences. Companies facing such massive, unexpected costs have to make tough decisions. These decisions often involve looking for ways to cut expenses, and unfortunately, that can mean scaling back operations, delaying investments, or even reducing their workforce. The very jobs the tariffs were supposed to protect were now potentially at risk because of the tariffs. Ford had to reevaluate its production plans and investment strategies. For instance, they had initially planned to import the Focus Active crossover from China. But with the new 25% tariff, that plan became economically unviable. So they scrapped it. No Focus Active for America. Thanks, tariffs. Misery loves company how other automakers got stuck in the tariff mud. Ford wasn't alone in this tariff-induced quagmire. General Motors, another titan of American auto manufacturing, also felt the sting. Just like Ford, GM relies on a global network of suppliers and assembly plants. They too reported significant cost increases due to the steel and aluminum tariffs, running into the hundreds of millions if not $1 billion. This financial pressure contributed to GM making some painful decisions, including plant closures and layoffs in North America, which, again, ran counter to the stated goals of the tariff policy. And what about the foreign automakers who build cars in the United States? Companies like Toyota, Honda, BMW, and Nissan have massive manufacturing footprints in America, employing tens of thousands of American workers. They build cars here, buy parts here, and contribute to local economies. However, they also import certain components, and some of their US-built vehicles might use a higher percentage of imported parts than their Detroit counterparts. These companies were also hit by the tariffs on parts, and the threat of tariffs on fully imported vehicles created massive uncertainty, chilling investment and complicating future planning. It was a clear message. even if you build here, you're not entirely safe. Your wallet's new enemy, the tariff-inflated car price tag. So, corporations are grumbling, supply chains are tangled, and international relations are a bit frosty. But what does this all mean for you, the average person who just wants to buy a car? Well, spoiler alert, it wasn't good news. When companies face increased costs from tariffs, they often pass those costs on to consumers. Guess who ends up paying more? That's right, you, the car buyer. Tariffs can add hundreds, even thousands to the price of a new car. For many families, this price hike can mean sticking with an older, less safe vehicle, or delaying a purchase altogether. The political sideshow, and why nobody could agree on cars. Naturally, a policy with such far-reaching and controversial consequences didn't just quietly happen. Oh no, it sparked a political firestorm. The debate around the auto tariffs became a perfect microcosm of the broader arguments about trade, globalization, and economic nationalism. On one side, proponents, including those in the Trump administration, doubled down, insisting that the tariffs were necessary to level the playing field, protect American sovereignty, and bring back manufacturing jobs. They argued that any short-term pain was a necessary price for long-term gain, a kind of economic tough love. On the other side, a diverse chorus of critics emerged. This included, rather awkwardly for the proponents, many American businesses and industry groups, including those in the auto sector itself. They pointed to the rising costs for businesses and consumers, the disruption to supply chains, and the risk of retaliatory tariffs from other countries, which did in fact materialize, hurting American exports. It was a classic case of an economic policy becoming a political football, kicked around with great enthusiasm, but with little regard for where it might land, or who it might hit. So, what did we learn, besides that tariffs are a headache? After the dust settled, what were the grand takeaways from this tariff tangle in the auto industry? In a globalized economy, you can't just whack one part with a tariff hammer and expect only your intended target to feel it. The auto industry showed that protectionist measures can backfire, hurting domestic producers and consumers. Tariffs led to higher prices, reduced profits for companies like Ford and GM, and job losses. The interconnectedness of the modern global economy is a feature, not a bug. Policies need to work with that reality, not against it. Trade policies that create uncertainty and raise costs are the last thing the industry needs.